we're trying to figure something out here. 94 calls to action outlined a decade ago, in the neighborhood of 17 that haven't even been started. What is one of those calls not started that baffles you for languishing the way it is?
Yeah, I think of a few. One is really interesting to me that hasn't been started, and it is the Prime Minister of Canada's State of Aboriginal Peoples report. This is a report that is meant to be developed by the National Council for Reconciliation. It's also meant to compare outcomes in child welfare, health, justice, and education between Canadians and Indigenous peoples. We suspect that these comparative outcomes would be very telling about the certain kinds of inequities that continue to exist between Indigenous peoples and Canadians, but they're also really important to understanding exactly what needs to be done to bring Canadians and Indigenous peoples to parity, which is arguably what reconciliation is about. All of these are meant to be an annual report from the Prime Minister themselves to really lead the country in what is being done about reconciliation in Canada.
What do you think explains that isn't happening?
I don't think the infrastructure exists. It's been 10 years since the calls to action have been released. The Liberal government at the time had promised to completing all of them. Some really meaningful work could have been done in developing the infrastructure to release these types of reports, such as, data agreements between certain ministries, or building that infrastructure to report to the Canadian public about these outcomes and their inequities.
Do you ever worry sometimes that this risks becoming a box ticking exercise?
100%. I think that in my work that I've done in the past in tracking the calls to action, we tracked whether or not they were complete or not. And this does risk a certain element of box ticking or just numerically identifying which ones have been completed. But I also argue that the calls to action themselves have a lot of wisdom within them. And the more that we complete, the more meaningful action we have toward, relieving some of those inequities that Indigenous peoples are facing, which is why we chose to put such a strict criteria to our methodology.
So can you take me ahead to the day after all 94 calls to action have been met? What does Canada look like on that day?
Well, it is a country that is informed by treaties that it itself had signed with Indigenous peoples. Indigenous peoples enjoy parity. I think there's no climate crisis. I think that there's, I don't want to say it's a utopia, but it's certainly a place that is better positioned toward the equitable country that Canada so desires to have. And I think that, Canadians themselves would really benefit from reconciliation as well, and actually embody that country that so many people have come to love.
Okay. Eva Jewell, thank you.
Thank you for having me.